Revealed. How a CEO father turned a heartwarming tragedy into an incredible life-changing fortune. In the small Midwestern town of Oak Hill, a tragedy unfolded that shook the very foundations of hope. Jacob Monroe, once a thriving CEO with a bustling factory, lost his beloved wife in a devastating car accident, one that left him as the sole parent to two grieving children, Emma and Ben. Overnight, the vibrant colors of their family life faded to gray, replaced by the shadows of despair. Jacob found himself holding the weight of his broken family, while desperately trying to navigate the waters of grief. His heart shattered, yet determined to be the rock his children needed. Every morning, Jacob would awaken to the haunting silence that filled their home. He'd find Emma, a budding artist, standing by the window, paintbrush in hand, eyes lost in a world unseen. Ben, on the other hand, would hoard gadgets in his room, his laughter replaced by cold silence as he escaped into technology, avoiding the reality of their loss. As Jacob watched them slip away, his heart ached with hopelessness, sorrow clinging to him like a heavy cloak. Each tear shed felt like a storm brewing, threatening to wash away their fragile unity. But amid this suffocating grief, a flicker of hope ignited in Jacob's heart. He envisioned a foundation dedicated to nurturing the lost dreams of children like Emma, and Ben, an initiative that would honor his late wife's passion for creativity. With every ounce of determination, he vowed to not let their mother's legacy fade into oblivion. He imagined a world where Emma could once again paint brightly, where Ben's inventive spirit could soar. Yet, the thought of starting this foundation was daunting. Like climbing a mountain steeped in doubt, Jacob faced not just the grief of his children but a town that watched closely, eyes filled with skepticism. They whispered, wondering if a single man could shoulder such a monumental task. Jacob leaned into the values taught to him by his father: hard work, resilience, the unyielding belief in rising despite the odds stacked against you. With his mind set, he reached out for support, yet met with hesitance and murmurs of who deserved to pursue these dreams. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jacob dug deeper, he uncovered a familial rivalry, whispers of entitlement and prejudice haunting the town like a ghost. There were hidden biases that clouded the community's willingness to support him. Jacob felt the weight of discrimination wrap around him, squeezing tighter with every whisper of discontent. It was a painful reminder that his late wife's burdens were far heavier than he ever realized. As rumors festered, he couldn't help but wonder if he and his family had the strength to break free from this cycle of doubt. Standing at the threshold of the town hall, Jacob could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Grief intertwined with determination surged within him. He was on the brink of something monumental, a possibility that could change everything for his children, for himself, and for the community he loved. Would he find the courage to challenge the odds and turn their collective grief into a call for resilience and hope? As he took a deep breath, preparing to speak, the eyes of the town upon him, Jacob realized it was now or never, and he was ready to fight for the future they all deserved. Jacob stepped into the town hall, the weight of all eyes pressing down on him. He hadn't slept the night before. Thoughts of his children swirling in his mind like the autumn leaves caught in a whirl. Shivers of anxiety ran through him as he stood before the crowd. Families filled the seats, some familiar faces, some strangers, and he could feel the energy rippling like an electric current. He cleared his throat and stood tall, despite the tremors of doubt that threatened to shake him. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. Murmurs rippled through the audience, and Jacob felt an odd mix of hope and fear. "I know these past months have been difficult for all of us. I stand here today not just for my children, but for every child who has dreams that deserve a chance to soar." As he spoke, he caught a glimpse of Emma sitting near the back, her face a mixture of pride and uncertainty. In that moment he remembered the way she used to paint, her laughter filling the room with warmth. He wanted that back for her. He took a breath and continued, "My late wife believed in the power of creativity, and I want to honor that belief by creating a foundation. A place for art, technology, and exploration. He felt the weight of stony silence. Glances exchanged among the townsfolk whispering uncertainty. I know some of you are skeptical, but I believe this community can come together to reclaim hope and help our children dream again. The intensity in Jacob's words sharpened the atmosphere. He was risking everything. One man, older than the others, stood up. What makes you think we can trust you? The man barked, an edge to his voice. You lost your family. Why should we allow you to control ours? You think building a foundation can erase the pain? The words hit Jacob like a punch. He swallowed hard, eyes momentarily darting to the floor. His past clung to him, that familiar shadow creeping back. I don't want to erase the pain. I want to honor it. We've all lost something, and I know the ache of that loss all too well. For a moment, Jacob saw understanding flicker across the faces around him. He pressed on, this foundation isn't just about creativity. It's about healing. For every child who feels lost, every parent who feels despair, let us work together to create a community where dreams can be rekindled, even from the ashes of tragedy. A few murmurs of agreement broke out. Jacob felt the tiniest ember of hope spark within him again. He noticed Emma's eyes shining, her expression starting to change. Maybe they would rally together after all. But how? A voice came from the back, fragile and hesitant. It was Ben. Jacob's heart surged with pride and worry. Ben had spoken up, for once breaking through his own silence. What could we really do to make this happen? The room fell silent again, and Jacob realized his son was looking for answers too. Jacob found strength in this vulnerable moment. It starts with us believing in each other. We'll host workshops, gather support, and involve everyone in this town. If we all pitch in, we can make something beautiful out of our pain. The crowd still felt hesitant, but Jacob could see seeds of hope start to sprout in their eyes. The beginnings of a conversation instead of whispers of doubt. But before he could fully bask in that feeling, a sharp voice cut through. And what about the factory? What happens to your business while you play the savior? Jacob's heart dropped. The looming pressures of neglect loomed large. The weight pulled at him again, and self-doubt crept in. What do I do if I can't balance both? He glanced at Emma and Ben, who looked to him for leadership, hope, and direction. Can I do this? He wondered silently. As he stood there, Jacob clutched the podium tighter, knowing he needed to make this a choice of resilience. Not just for him but for the family who needed him to lead with courage. Tomorrow, he said finally, his voice stronger than before. Tomorrow, I'll announce the first meeting for anyone willing to help. I invite you all to join me. There in the hush of the hall, he felt a shift. Could they forge a new path together? Jacob took a breath, looking out at the hopeful glimmers in the crowd. It wasn't an end, merely a beginning. And with every step forward, he knew the challenges were only just starting. Would they unite to build a brighter future? Or would his efforts crumble under their weight? The next morning, Jacob woke to the dull slice of sunlight creeping through the curtains. It felt as if the entire world held its breath, waiting for him to take the next step. His heart raced at the thought of the community meeting looming ahead. Would anyone even show up? He glanced at the photographs on the wall, Emma grinning with paint-splattered hands, Ben proudly holding up a science fair trophy. They were remnants of a life filled with laughter, now mixed with the stark realities of loss. A mix of love and responsibility curled in his chest, urging him toward action. The morning air was crisp as he stepped outside. Jacob took a deep breath, letting the coolness fill his lungs. Each step toward the town hall felt like striding down the edge of a precipice. The thought of seeing those familiar faces again was thrilling yet daunting. He wondered, would they trust him? Would they believe in the vision he had for their children? As he arrived, he found a few people forming a small group near the entrance. Their faces were lined with curiosity rather than skepticism, a much-needed change. Jacob's heart fluttered, but he steadied himself. He had to believe that this was more than just hope, it was about transformation. When the hour struck, he stood in front of a modest crowd, their faces reflecting cautious optimism. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice steady as he locked eyes with Emma and Ben, who had come to support him. "Yesterday I shared my vision for the foundation, and today I want us to build it together." A woman in the front waved her hand, a determined look in her eyes. "What kind of workshops are you thinking about?" And how can we really make this work? Her enthusiasm pierced through the last remnants of doubt hanging over the room. Great question, Jacob replied, feeling a surge of excitement. Art makes us feel. Workshops for painting, music, and even coding could open doors for our kids. We can bring in local artists, tech experts, anyone willing to share their passion. Each workshop could empower the next generation. A man up front crossed his arms, skepticism creeping in again. That sounds nice, but if this doesn't make money, how can we keep it going? Before Jacob could respond, a voice called out from the back. It was Ben. Yeah, Dad. How can we use the factory too? Heads turned in surprise. It was rare for Ben to take the lead, and Jacob felt pride swell in his chest. He smiled. The factory is important, no question there. That's our foundation, our mainstay. But we can intertwine the two. We could hold workshops on robotics or manufacturing processes there. Kids can learn about the business side of creativity and innovation. People looked at each other, eyebrows raised in cautious intrigue. Jacob pressed on, fueled by their growing interest. This isn't just about breaking ground for a foundation. It's about building a community where every voice is valued, where dreams can be ignited in ways we never thought possible. The energy shifted palpably. People leaned in closer, nodding slowly, eyes exchanging understanding. But just as hope fanned into flame, a voice rang out again, slicing through the support like a knife. Yeah, but what if it fails? What then? Jacob hesitated, breath hitching. What if it failed? The lingering memory of his past weighed heavily on him, but he also knew the importance of trying. If it fails, we'll adapt. We'll learn. But giving up before we even start? That's not an option. The meeting carried on, with ideas bouncing back and forth. Plans were formed, and a sense of unity started to blossom. Ben and Emma chimed in, sharing their thoughts and sparking dialogue among the crowd. Jacob felt himself being lifted by the collective hope washing over the room. As the event wrapped up, Jacob stepped outside, feeling the weight of responsibility and opportunity. He had ignited a spark, but the real work lay ahead. Would they really follow through? Did they have the courage to forge this path together? The challenge lingered in his mind like a bright flame flickering. With promise, would they transform pain into creativity? Or would fear hold them back? The answers danced just beyond his grasp, waiting for the next meeting, a realization dawning that, in this quest for renewal, even he was still learning how to trust. The next few days blurred together as excitement brewed in the community. Jacob found himself endlessly caught up in conversations, strategizing and plotting innovative ideas. Each morning broke with renewed energy, the sun spilling light on a town that felt just a little brighter. He anchored himself in the community center, a place that once echoed with laughter. Now it buzzed with potential. As he set up for the next meeting, Jacob caught sight of the children running around, their laughter mingling with music from an old radio. For a fleeting moment he could almost see Emma and Ben among them, carefree, alive. Ready for the meeting, he paced the small stage, just wanting to harness the sparks that had ignited over the past few days. He looked down at his notes, but instead decided to speak candidly. His heart raced as he began. We've all faced loss, he said, looking around at familiar faces, but together, we can transform that pain into something beautiful. Heads nodded. He felt supported, a circle of strength building around him, but a nagging worry lodged itself in the back of his mind. What if they don't believe? What if I can't deliver? As the meeting kicked off, people began sharing ideas. A woman named Carol proposed art retreats for families. A place to heal together, she exclaimed, her eyes shining bright with determination. Jacob could feel the warmth of her spirit flow through the room. Then someone mentioned a talent show. Laughter erupted as children imagined their performances. Jacob's heart swelled with pride as he saw Ben and Emma rolling their eyes, pretending embarrassment but secretly loving the idea. As the energy heightened, Jacob caught sight of a newcomer hovering near the back. She looked lost, her hands clutching a faded purse. During a lull, he motioned for her to join. Hey, what do you think? Her cheeks flushed as she stepped forward. I'm not sure I have much to offer, she admitted quietly. But I lost my son a couple of years ago, and her voice wavered, but she swallowed hard, finding her strength. I think about how he loved to draw. Maybe we can do something in his memory? There it was. A moment that brought everything crashing together, the heartache, the motivation, the possibility. Jacob felt the room draw closer, surrounding the woman in their collective care. Absolutely, he said, the words heavy with sincerity. Let us make that happen. Every person in the room could feel it, their shared burdens, their stories, intertwining into something glorious. They began brainstorming, each idea like a thread woven into a tapestry of hope. It became clear that this was not only about projects but creating a space, an emotional sanctuary where families could heal, rebuild, and celebrate together. But just as the hopeful energy flowed freely, the door swung open unexpectedly, dragging in a rush of cool air and a figure Jacob hadn't seen in years. Tina, a former colleague who had left the town after a fallout years ago. I heard about the meeting, she said, her tone tinged with familiarity, yet something else lingered. And I want to help. Whispers filled the room, curiosity, shock, perhaps even hope scattered across faces that had once shared camaraderie. Jacob's heart raced. He was torn. Could he trust her again? Or would this be another heartbreak waiting to unfold? It was impossible to ignore the tension of the moment, binding them all together, uncertain yet charged. Jacob took a deep breath, feeling every ounce of concern rise. The path ahead twisted and turned, promising both wonder and doubt. Would welcoming her back be a mistake? Or could they unite their strengths? As he turned to the crowd, adrenaline coursing through him, one thought echoed in his mind. This wasn't just about rebuilding a foundation, it was about mending a community tangled in loss and opportunity. What would they choose, and what surprises lay in their future with Tina stepping back into the fray? Jacob's heart pulsed, underscored by the uncertainty that hung heavy in the air. He scanned the faces around him. Some looked eager, ready to embrace Tina's return, while others wore guarded expressions. It was a delicate balance, a teetering tightrope that could either lead to progress or plunge them all back into old wounds. Tina stepped closer, a tentative smile breaking across her face. I know things ended badly between us, but I've been listening from afar and I see what you're all trying to do here. Do you really? Jacob thought, clenching his fists. Memories of misunderstandings and hurt swirled around him. You left us when we needed you the most. But something in her voice simmered with sincerity. I want to make amends. Help me help you. Silence fell, the air thick with tension. Then Carol piped up quietly. Maybe she really does want to help. We should at least hear her out. The crowd murmured, shifting uncomfortably. Jacob noticed the newcomers, especially the woman who had lost her son. Her expression echoed his own. Uncertainty mixed with hope. Her eyes flickered between him and Tina, searching for a signal of what to do next. Let us take a vote, Jacob said, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. If anyone feels uncomfortable, we'll move forward without her. If you're open to it, we'll let her help. Hands shot up, some eager, some hesitant. The best way to move forward was to address the feelings brewing in the room. Jacob's gut churned as he counted heads. It was close. Tension clung to their shoulders, igniting every nerve. Finally, the hands went down and Jacob faced Tina. It's 50-50. You've got a chance. But you need to prove you're here to stay. She nodded earnestly, her demeanor cracking under the weight of emotion. I understand. Jacob turned his attention back to the group, sensing a wave of relief wash over them as they accepted the outcome. All right, let us introduce her to our ideas. We've got a lot of work ahead. But this can be a fresh start. Tina smiled softly, and a new energy stirred amongst the crowd. Ideas bubbled back up like fresh spring water. The talent show was beginning to take shape, and plans for an art retreat inspired laughter and excitement. But as Jacob shared concepts and listened to the community's jubilant ideas, something else gnawed at him. The more they included Tina, the further his heart drifted from fully embracing this second chance. Could they really mend what had been broken? His thoughts lingered on the gathering, voices overlapping in a symphony of hope. But in the back of his mind, a single question throbbed. Would the trust they were building last, or was it fragility masked by the shine of newfound hope? Just as he felt the stirrings of excitement blooming, Yardley, the town's most outspoken resident, raised a hand. Wait a second. We need to talk about what happened with your departure, Tina, and why we should trust you now. The room turned silent again, the weight of the moment pressing down hard. Jacob's breath hitched. Past grievances hung heavy over them like a storm cloud threatening to rain on their newfound dreams. Would they dig deep into the past? Or could they leap forward, with courage and determination? As he turned to the crowd, adrenaline surging once more. Jacob sensed that this was just the beginning. The reunion of old allies brought chance and challenge alike. There was unfinished business, and he had a lot of questions of his own. What truth lurked in the shadows of their shared history? And what would it take for them all to truly lift each other out of the darkness? Tina's eyes darted nervously as Yardley's words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Jacob felt the tension radiate from the crowd. Faces polished with hope just moments before now looked strained. The reality of their history pressing down on them. It was a reckoning coming to the surface, the raw edges of old wounds still fresh for many. I understand why you're hesitating, Tina began, her voice quaking. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. When I left, I thought I was protecting you, all of you. I believed that by stepping back, I could prevent any more pain. Jacob's heart sank. She thought she knew best, but it hadn't he felt that way then. But we needed you. We needed each other. He thought, the frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. I was scared. Scared that staying would only make things worse, she continued, her voice rising slightly. But I realize now that running away only made it worse for me too. I wasn't just leaving, I was abandoning you all. I want to make up for that. Her words were met with a mixture of silence and whispers. Jacob watched as the woman with the haunted eyes spoke up. Hesitantly yet with a fierce intensity. I lost my son because people turned their backs when it mattered. It cost him everything. So Tina, tell us, how can you earn our trust back? This directed question seemed to cleave through the tension like a knife, drawing punctuated nods from many in the crowd. Jacob's heart raced. He could hear the notes of her trembling voice as if she were putting it all on the line. I'm here to listen, Tina replied steadily. I want to help create real change in our community. I can't undo the past, but I can fight side by side with you moving forward. You will see my dedication every day in the smallest ways. I'll work for our healing together. Yardley crossed her arms. The accountant was known for her sharpness, but Jacob sensed her skepticism softening just a bit. Words are nice, but actions speak louder, don't they? Show us you're not just here for show. Jacob clenched his teeth. Could they really let her back in? Did she mean what she said? The pulse of doubt hummed through his veins, but also the tiny spark of something new, a strange curiosity just beneath the surface. They weren't going to make decisions with words alone. They needed to see real steps taken, not just empty promises. So, with determination bubbling in his chest, Jacob raised his voice. All right. Let us make a plan to ensure you become part of this journey for real. If you want to be with us, we need to set up ways we can see your commitment. Tina's eyes shimmered with gratitude. Yes, I agree. Let us work through a series of community projects together, including the art retreat and a memorial for those we've lost. If I fall short, then you can all move on without me. A sense of agreement washed through the crowd. Hope flickered like candlelight, fragile but alive. Jacob felt his breathing slow, the urge to lash out ebbing away as the wheels began to turn. Yet, even amidst the budding optimism, he felt the undercurrents of doubt creeping back. Could they truly forgive? Would it be enough? The questions begged to be answered, each one heavier than the last. As conversations began flowing again, filling the air with fresh ideas and laughter, Jacob caught Tina's glance across the room. There was an understanding and alignment of purpose. Just as he felt a small flicker of hope ignite, a sound sliced through, sharp and sudden. The unmistakable crack of glass. Had something broken? The room fell silent, the warmth sucking away like the air from a balloon. All eyes turned to the corner where sharp fragments glistened on the floor. What had just been shattered? Hope, trust, or something far deeper? As Jacob's mind raced, the pressing question loomed. Was this setback a sign of greater things unraveling, or a challenge meant for them to conquer together? The crowd held its breath, staring at the shattered glass, its sharp pieces reflecting the flickering lights overhead. Jacob's heart raced as he turned to look at the source of the sound. It was a plain vase, normally a simple decoration, now reduced to fragments that scattered across the floor. Is everyone all right? A voice called from the back. It was Marcus, the local handyman, who had been standing by the entrance. The tension felt thicker than the air in a summer heat wave. underscoring the setting as whispers morphed into worried murmurs. Tina took a cautious step forward, tension tightening her features. "It's just a vase," she said, trying to inject calm into the rising storm of emotions. No one was hurt. Jacob noticed how she was eager to take control of the situation, but the crowd was already spinning in the opposite direction, fueled by unresolved doubts. "I can't believe we let her in," muttered a man at the edge of the group. Jordan, known for his blunt honesty, glared at Tina. "And this is what we get, a broken promise just like before." "I understand how you feel," Tina replied, her voice steady but sinking. "You think I'm just here for a show, but I truly want to change things." "Words mean nothing," someone else snapped back, fanning the flames that already felt too hot to handle. Jacob's stomach churned. Everyone was teetering on the edge of anger again, ready to jump off the ledge. He could see the disapproval etched on their faces. He stepped forward, his presence a thin tether between hope and chaos. "Let us focus on why we're here. This isn't about a vase. It's about us coming together." The crowd paused, the weight of his words hanging in the air. I still narrowed but listened. "Maybe it was just broken things that keep coming back to haunt us," Jacob pressed. "Tina's here trying to mend things that were torn apart. We can't let a little accident derail us again." As he spoke, he felt a swell of frustration erupting within, pushing him forward. "What more will it take for you to see that every step, even a wrong one, can lead to something good? It's about trying. It's about hope." Tina's gaze met his, an understanding flaring for a moment. "I want—" Jacob's voice cracked slightly, emotions bubbling beneath the surface. "I want to find a way to heal. We've been silent for too long. We can't just sit back and watch our community crumble further because we're stuck in the past." One by one, the crowd's faces began to shift. The scowls softened, some eyes even glimmering with the tiniest spark of hope, as if Jacob's earnestness was igniting a small flame in each of their hearts. "Yes, we need to be vigilant," Yardley finally said, her voice less harsh, "but if she wants to make it right, then we need to work together. It might not heal the wounds overnight, but we owe it to ourselves to try." The buzz of conversation shifted. Jacob felt the energy in the room change. They were thinking, open to the idea of giving Tina a shot. But just as he felt a surge of support, a woman cried out in the corner, "What if we do try and it ends up worse? We can't afford to get hurt again." A ripple of agreement moved through the crowd, the tension resurrecting. Jacob's pulse quickened. "Sometimes we have to take risks," he called out, his voice rising above the din. "Every single one of us has lost something, but we can't keep letting the fear of loss steal our chance at gaining something good." The room grew quiet again, the energy at a standstill. He glanced back at Tina. She appeared ready to speak, but what would she say now, in the face of rebuilding what was just nearly dismantled again? As the air thickened with anticipation, Jacob quietly prayed. Would they find the courage to accept the risk? Would Tina know how to turn the tide? And beneath it all, the looming dread of uncertainties rested heavy. Just what else might be lurking in the shadows, ready to collide with their fragile hopes? Tina took a deep breath. The crowd's gaze weighed heavy on her. She opened her mouth, hesitating for a moment as doubt flickered behind her eyes. Jacob felt the tension spike again, like a tightly wound spring ready to snap. Would she sink under the pressure, or could she rise above it? "Look," she said, her voice stronger now, resonating within the heart of the gathering. "I know I'm the least likely person to lead change. I know I've made mistakes." Her eyes shifted, meeting the glare of Jordan, who stood with crossed arms. "But I'm asking you to trust me again. Let me prove I've learned from what we've gone through." And just like that, the vulnerability in her voice shifted something in the air. A few nods gradually broke through the skepticism, a tentative acknowledgement that perhaps forgiveness was within their grasp. "Prove it," Jordan shot back, his tone still sharp but less accusatory. "We've heard it all before." Tina nodded, accepting the challenge. "I can't erase the past, but I can build a future. We can work together to create something lasting. Just give me the chance to show you." Jacob felt a spark igniting again, but it flickered dangerously, teetering. He could see the crowd still wrestling with their doubts. This wasn't just about trust. It was about the open wounds that still throbbed from years of heartbreak. "I've seen you all care," Jacob interjected, his voice steadying. Remember when we came together to help the Johnsons after their house burned down? Or when we rallied to fix the park? The waves of murmurs began to rise again, but he pressed on. You showed up. You supported each other. That's what gets us through the pain. We've got to take our scars and turn them into something strong. Yardley stepped forward, her expression less stormy now. And if we fall apart again, what then? What deal do we have in place to catch us when it hurts? Her voice quaked slightly, revealing the raw edge of vulnerability underneath her tough exterior. We lean on each other, Jacob replied, his heart pounding louder. Together we heal together. Maybe that's what we've been missing. We have to be brave enough to risk being hurt while we figure it out. The room stayed silent for a moment, the weight of his words hanging uncomfortably in the air like a thick fog. Jacob's stomach twisted. If only he could swipe off the doubt like dust from a window pane and let the light in. Then without warning the door swung open. All heads turned as a man stumbled inside, eyes wide with urgency. I'm sorry for barging in, but you need to hear this. There's been a incident at the community center. Tina's face drained of color. What kind of incident? Shots were fired, he managed to say between gasps, the panic rippling through his words. The room jolted into chaos. 100 voices erupted, all tangled, urgent questions crashing together. Jacob felt his heart drop, concern slicing through the hopeful strides they had just made. Wait, what do you mean? Is everyone all right? The man shook his head, looking as if he were ready to crumble under the weight of what he was bringing. I don't know. Some people. They were outside when it happened. You need to. We have to go. A chill swept through the crowd, freezing their hope in place. The shattered vase was suddenly the least of their worries, replaced by a new fear they had not anticipated. As murmurs of disbelief and shock filled the room, Jacob's gut twisted with dread. What were they about to face? Would this new threat break them apart again? Or could they find a way to hold on once more? What had they just begun to build? And what would it take for them to stand strong in the face of such darkness? Fear flooded the room like a sudden icy wave. Jacob's pulse quickened as he scanned the faces around him, panic mixed with disbelief, every person grappling with the gravity of what had just been announced. His heart pounded in rhythm with the collective anxiety that gripped the crowd. Yet, amidst the urgency, he noticed Tina silently standing taller, her fears momentarily masked by determination. Jacob admired that spark, but the reality was harsh and raw. This was no time for speeches or pleas for unity. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast. Listen! Jacob shouted over the rising cacophony. People began to quiet, their attention shifting back to him. We need to get to the community center. We can't sit here wondering what happened. We don't know who's hurt or how many people are involved. His instincts kicked in. He stepped toward the furrowed brow of Yardley, whose brave facade seemed to crack under the weight of concern. Yardley grabbed the car keys, he urged. We need to rally everyone, see if we can help. Tina shifted nervously. Do we have enough information? What if there's still danger? What if her voice trembled, and anxiety clawed at the edges of her resolve? We can't sit here and do nothing. Let us go. Jacob insisted, voice steady, despite the uncertainty gnawing at him. He turned to the crowd, urgency threading his words. If we want to make a change, we don't just talk about it. We act. A mixture of fear and determination flickered in the eyes around him. Then Jordan stepped up, his expression softening slightly. I'll drive. We can't just wait. And with that, people scrambled into action, gathering coats, organizing themselves to head out, the initial panic beginning to transform into purpose. Jacob felt a glimmer of hope surge within him. Maybe they could band together after all. As they hurried outside, the cold evening air hit them. Jacob could hear sirens wailing in the distance, a sharp, piercing reminder of the chaos waiting for them. The sun had dipped behind the horizon, casting long shadows that expanded against the pavement. They climbed into Jordan's car. The engine roared to life, cutting through the eerie stillness. Jacob slid into the back seat, with Tina beside him. Her hand trembled slightly against his, and he squeezed it reassuringly. No matter what we find, we face it together, he assured her, hoping his words would ease her mind. As the car sped toward the heart of the community, Jacob caught glimpses of familiar blocks passing by, places that had been the backdrop of his childhood, the framework of their shared history. Sadness prickled at his heart. How swiftly things could change, how fragile life felt in that moment. They arrived to the haunting sight of flashing lights bathed in darkness. Crowds were forming outside the community center, many straining to find answers, faces etched with worry and confusion. Jacob stepped out, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Just ahead he spotted a group huddled together. A woman crying as a man held her tightly. "What happened?" Jacob asked as he approached, desperate for clarity. "I heard shots out there," the man replied, gesturing toward the parking lot where chaos was unfolding. "My sister. She was inside. I don't know if she made it." The weight of his words settled heavily in the air. Jacob's stomach twisted at the thought of losing someone just like that, someone who might have been there only moments before. Could they face this new reality, find answers, come through with their emerging sense of unity? What would they find in the darkness waiting ahead? Were they truly ready to confront the pain that might lay before them? As he stepped closer, a scream pierced the night, shattering the fragile peace they had fought to build. Jacob's heart raced as he turned toward the source of the scream. It came from deep within the community center, an anguished cry that echoed through the night, laced with grief and fear. The air was charged, thick with an unsettling mix of dread and desperation. He glanced at Tina, whose face reflected the horror of the unknown. She took a step back as if ready to retreat, but he reached out and grasped her hand firmly. "No, we can't falter. Not now." His voice cut through the chaos, steady as he drew courage from within. "Let us move." He called to the crowd around him. He gestured for them to gather closer. "We need to find out what is happening in there. We may not know how to fix everything, but we can at least share the burden of whatever we face. Together. Okay?" Yardley nodded, summoning determination from the depths of her worries. "We're going in. We need to support our own. No one should face this alone." Jackson, the town's volunteer firefighter, stepped forward. "I'll help. I know how to navigate the center. There might still be people trapped or hurt." The urgency in his voice pulled the crowd from their fear, channeling it into a sense of purpose. Jacob felt the fear lick at the edges of his heart, but he pushed it down. They had built something strong over the last few weeks, a connection that had begun to mend the brokenness of their community. If nothing else, they must hold on to that fight. He would not let their fragile hope shatter in the face of danger. They rushed toward the entrance, the crowd beginning to swell around them. As the doors creaked open, the scene inside came into view. The remnants of laughter faded and replaced by anxiety and confusion. The usual chatter was drowned out by urgent voices calling for help. Lights flickered nervously overhead, illuminating a chaotic rush of children and adults huddled together, surrounded by concerned faces of first responders. Jacob felt the urgency surge through his body as he stepped inside. He could see distraught parents embracing their children, their faces streaked with tears and fear. It was all too familiar pain painted across their features, echoing the grief they had carried for too long. In that moment, everything came rushing back: the loss, the heartache, the moments lost to tragedy. He swallowed hard against the pressure in his throat, but he couldn't let it overwhelm him. "Focus," he reminded himself. They had to act, to comfort, protect. It was what they had fought for. Jacob made his way to a cluster of children, who were crying softly. "Hey, you're safe now. We're here with you," he called. The children looked up, their eyes wide with worry. "Can you tell me if anyone is hurt? Or if you know where your families are?" A girl stepped forward, her small frame shaking. "My brother, he was in the art room. They said he couldn't find his way out." Tears pricked Jacob's eyes, but he choked them back. "Okay, stay together, all right? We'll find him." He turned to a nearby firefighter. "We need to search for anyone still inside. Follow me." A group of volunteers rallied behind him. Gus, another local, called out, "I'll check the kitchen area. I saw a few kids go that way." As they split up, Jacob and Tina headed toward the hallway leading to the art room. With each step, Jacob felt the weight of their mission. This was more than just about his family. It was about each child's future, about rebuilding the lost dreams buried beneath their shared grief. Finally, they reached the art room and pushed the door open. The sight that met them was heart-wrenching. A room filled with paint-splattered canvases, now scattered like abandoned hopes amid furniture pushed to the side. Jacob's heart sank. Where was the joy? Where were the dreams that once filled this sanctuary? Then a faint voice broke through the silence. Help! I can't move. Jacob turned sharply to see a small boy pinned beneath a table, fear etching his features. He rushed over, dropping to one knee. Hey buddy, it's okay. We're here. Just sit tight. Jacob assessed the table and the boy's leg. We'll get you out. Just hold on. Tina crouched beside him. I'll lift. You pull him out. She nodded, lifting the edge of the table. Jacob wrapped his arms around the boy's waist, gently trying to coax him from beneath the weight. With a collective push, they hoisted the table just enough to free him. Gotcha. Jacob exhaled, relief flooding over him as he pulled the boy into his arms. You're safe now. Tears blurred the boy's eyes. Thank you, I thought I was done. No one's done. Jacob whispered as he carried him back into the embrace of the hall. You're gonna be okay. We're gonna take care of everyone. Once they rejoined the growing group, the sounds of cheers erupted around Jacob, a mix of relief and renewed hope, the unity of their solidarity surfacing like a phoenix from the ashes. But as the adrenaline faded, Jacob couldn't ignore the reality looming still ahead. More would need to be done. The threat wasn't over, but they had shown that in the darkness, they could find light within each other. In that moment he locked eyes with Tina. This is our community and together we can heal these wounds, he said, the conviction burning bright in his voice. Every setback can only make us stronger, and together we can guide each other out of this darkness. As the cries of joy mingled with the wails of the walls still swaying beneath the weight of shared grief, Jacob felt something new stir within him. It was a fierce, unyielding hope, a recognition of their collective strength. And standing there, he realized that the foundation he aimed to build wasn't just about creativity or dreams. It was about uniting as a family, woven together by love, resilience, and determination to forge a beautiful vision for their future. Now was the time to rise, not only for their hopes, but for every voice that had yet to be heard. This was just the beginning. Now, as this emotional journey comes to a close and a new dawn breaks, it's time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.